God,
grant me the serenity
to accept the things I cannot change,
the courage to change the things I can,
and the wisdom to know the difference.
In this edition of Overcoming Addiction, we will focus on the need for recovery coaches and what their role looks like in the future. Tonight's guests are recovery coach and certified peer specialist Donna Aiello and recovery coach Kyle Hamilton. Together, we can make a difference. Here's your host, Paul Hammersley.
We're going to talk about the need for recovery coaches, what they do, what Malden Overcoming Addiction, how we're involved with recovery coaches. And we just want everyone to understand the peer-to-peer process, and that's the purpose of tonight's show. And just to start it off, what a recovery coach is. A recovery coach promotes recovery, removes the barriers to recovery, connects people with recovery support services, encourages hope, optimism, and healthy living. So with all that being said, I'm gonna turn over to Donna Aiello. Donna has a lot of knowledge on the topic, and we're gonna talk between Donna, Richie, Kyle, and myself, and just explain to everybody, the future, what the future might look like in the world of addiction, and how people out there could benefit from a recovery coach. So Donna, tell me, how can people benefit from a recovery coach?
Well, recovery coaches are wonderful supports to folks that are struggling in recovery with their substance use disorder. So what a recovery coach does is walks with somebody in their journey, and we don't leave them there. We support them, like you said, with their recovery, removing barriers, providing supports. We're motivators, we're cheerleaders. We help advocate for them. We show them how to advocate. You know, some folks just don't know how to advocate for themselves. So we're a role model for advocating. Kyle can explain that a little bit when he tells you what he does. We help assist them in problem solving. We're a resource broker that's not lending money, but that's linking them to community supports, things that are in the community, such as recovery learning centers, other supports, treatments, systems of care, community organizers.
So let me interrupt for 1 second. With all that being said, so walk me through the process. So your phone rings.
Mm-hmm.
How does someone come about getting a recovery coach? So from where I sit, it's the person that might be needing some type of assistance, whether they're trying to enter recovery, trying to maybe get into a detox, whatever the situation is. Generally it's someone looking for some type of assistance, and from what I understand, a recovery coach is just someone who's going to meet that person where they're at, period. So talk to me about, from the phone call that comes in, what happens?
Many things. It depends on who the phone call's from. It could be the person themselves looking for support and detox. It could be the person just struggling and not quite sure where they're at and want somebody to go to meetings with them. It could be the parent of somebody, excuse me, looking for help for their child. What can I give them? Where can they go? They're getting out of jail in a few months, and where can I send them? What kind of supports can I line up for them? So that call could look like so many things. And I think a lot of people in today's pandemic is so out of control that I think a lot of folks have framed the work we're doing as detox, and that's not always necessarily what we're doing. A lot of the phone calls we're getting, right, as you know, is I need help, I need a bed, and that's great, and the beds are posted, and we know how to get them on the websites, and we're doing that, and we're giving people the list and saying, here, this is what we need to do, and we're also here to help you do that and make those calls and find detoxes, and Richie does this on a daily basis as well. But some of the other calls, as I do in my job as a peer specialist in working as a recovery coach, is just supporting somebody where they're at. Some people are in pre-contemplation. They're not sure if they have a foot in the door yet. They're wondering, do I want to give up drinking and using my drug of choice right now? I'm not sure. And we also have a mental health challenge thrown into that mix as well sometimes. And so a lot of it looks like, all right, me meeting with somebody saying, what do you want to do? You've got to remember the self-determination piece. We can't force people to do anything they don't want to do.
Right.
So a coach coming in on a peer-to-peer level is what we are. We're peers. There's no power struggle. I'm no better or no less than you, this person calling us. What do you want to do? What does this look like to you? Let's set some goals. Let's look at this and see how this is going to work for you. Let's small, attainable goals.
So, obviously, you've been through some training. I've been through some training. And I'm going to switch over to Kyle and Richie at this point. So one thing Malden Overcoming Addiction has offered, so people out there might be wondering what we're talking about. They don't understand the language. How do you become a recovery coach? Like, why do you get to be that recovery coach? Malden Overcoming Addiction has ran a CCAR Recovery Coach Academy a couple of months back. We actually ran the academy, and people got their certification in being a recovery coach, and Kyle was in the first Recovery Coach Academy. We're also running another academy this week. It starts June 16th, 17th, 23rd, and the 24th. We're going to be putting through another 30 coaches. We graduated 20 coaches about 2 months ago, and Kyle was one of those coaches. So Kyle, can you explain a little bit what the academy was like when you came in, the process you went through, just in a few minutes? Tell me what the academy was like. What did it teach you?
It taught me personally that like everybody is gonna walk a different pathway in their own recovery, and there's so many different like ways that people can, you know, get recovery, whether it's through treatment or different fellowships of recovery meetings and such to that. And like there's just ways of like I had to, you know, get a better understanding of meeting somebody where they were at in their own personal recovery, and you know, trying to walk somebody along their journey and guide their hand and kind of, you know, learn like, you know, the different supports and there's so many different like ways you can help another recovering addict, you know, and it was a beautiful course. You know, I got a lot out of it for my personal self that I could personally use in my day-to-day life, not even just helping somebody, but for me too. And it was just a very good experience.
So it helped you understand from a different level than you already did understand. Like there's outside meetings that some of us choose to do. So when you take that into effect by going to the academy, you learned on a different level on just what a peer-to-peer recovery specialist could do, or recovery coach. It's kind of a different level meeting somebody where they're at, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And Richie, you also took the course.
Yes, sir.
And was it the same for you?
Yes, it was more so. Just a few things about the course. First of all, when you say school is terrifying,
Right.
It wasn't like school at all. It was more like a spiritual retreat, and where other colleagues, members of the community, it was totally different, because I thought we were going to have a test, I'm going to get an F. I went there right away. My other thing about it was like recovery. I didn't know what a recovery coach was. When you say recovery and coach, I think automatically, oh, I'm going to sponsor somebody, no problem. I subscribe to a 12-step fellowship.
Right.
Not only that, did I see it had nothing to do with, well, very little to do with that. But just exactly what Kyle said, just different ways everyone had. And I got a chance to see in real time. I had a teacher, one of my teachers was Tulani. Tulani in real time met me where I was at with some of my barriers. Like, so when you say truth teller and meet somebody where they're at, that was one of my things. I'm like, well, how am I going to be a truth teller and allow them to be where they're at? And she allowed me to be there right where I was at and kind of showed me like that's in real time, that's how you do it. You know, so it was more for me, not even school, but more like a spiritual retreat with great information, great facilitators. It was just...
So it helped you?
Yes.
It helped you understand the process of how you could help someone on a different level.
Tremendously. And I could take that and transmit that into real life. And not only that, at Banyan, they allow us to do the peer-to-peer. So I get to see the peer-to-peer work in real time at work. Matt allows us to do that, and I do that in real life, and I use that also in my 12-step recovery.
So you work in the field as well?
Work in the field, yep.
You work for Banyan Treatment Center?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so you're dealing with peer-to-peer, clinical, you're dealing with everything on a daily basis?
Everything, yes, sir. Yep.
That's wonderful. And Kyle, back to you. So I know through Malden Overcoming Addiction, you've been going to drug court to potentially meet some of those folks where they're at. And how often do you go there?
Once a week.
So every week you're at Malden Drug Court?
Correct.
What goes on in drug court?
You sit down in the courtroom and they kind of assess each individual, call them up there, and, you know, kind of give them, you know, the goods that they're doing and some of the things that they need to work on. I'm actually a drug court graduate myself, and like peer support and having recovery coaching, I wish was something that was available to me at the time back in 2006, because like obviously you're court involved, so like you might not even be ready to like really surrender to your addiction and want to seek any pathways to recovery, but due to the courts being involved, they kind of have situations laid out for you that they want you to do. So, you know, I just met with somebody last week, and, you know, it was a good, pretty much just sitting down with him and getting to know him and listening and kind of seeing where he was at, you know, what he was doing about his problems and stuff to, you know, maybe he needs to work on, and just getting to know him. And, you know, it's interesting.
So you're giving up, no, I shouldn't say giving up, you're showing up every Wednesday to drug court just in case one of those folks might need. Generally what we would do is spend maybe an hour a week if we were to get somebody as a recovery coach and they wanted to meet with us, to just see what it's about. It's usually 60 minutes a week. You sit with that person and whatever that person wants to talk about. It could be helping that person find a job. It could be getting that person into treatment. It could be just listening. It could be having a cup of coffee. And that person could still be using, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay. So now I know that Malden Overcoming Addiction, we ran the program. We graduated 20 recovery coaches 2 months ago, and we're about to hopefully graduate 30 more in 2 weeks. So there needs to be supervision.
Yeah.
So 3 of us, myself, Donna, and Richie, are currently in supervising training. So Donna, let's talk a little bit about that. So we're potentially at Malden Overcoming Addiction about to have 50 recovery coaches.
Yeah.
And those recovery coaches, like we smile because this is the new thing out there.
Yeah.
Like recovery coaching is a way of the future, and it definitely can save lives.
Yeah.
But we have to have supervision. So talk a little bit about where we're going to school, what we're doing, what's that going to look like when it's done. We're going to graduate on the 19th next week, and tell us about that.
Why don't you tell us about that?
On live TV, you just did that, right?
Yeah, Richie, tell us about it. Yeah, I did. So we're taking the training, the 3 of us. It's been interesting. We're recapping on the Recovery Coach Academy, which is great. So we're getting a little, you know, extra information. I think we forget things as we're doing this all the time, right? We've talked about this. Like, we need a refresher. We do so much in our day-to-day life that we tend to forget all the stuff we are doing and how it counts and where it counts, and how to frame it, like we just talked about in the Recovery Coach goals and promoting recovery and other things. So we've done so much work collaboratively in this training and met some great people, which is put on through AdCare, through Department of Public Health, through BSAS, the Bureau of Substance Abuse Services, which have graciously hosted us for this, and very, very happy about that, and grateful again. So the training was the 2 days, and we've had a slew of homework, as you know, to put together, and we've had a binder to put together, and so much information, and we've had to do observations of folks, of our coaches we have a few coaches that are out working, and Kyle is one, a few others. So we've had to observe them and do some observation and see where they're at in their coaching styles and their learning and communication needs and their ability to balance their personal lives and their volunteers. Remember, all of our coaches are volunteers. They're giving us 4 hours a week, plus working jobs and have families and things like that. So that's, you know, that's a pretty huge responsibility. And now we're asking them to do some supervision. And it's so, that supervision piece is so important because you're giving and giving and giving. And as they're giving and they're taking on somebody else's stuff is heavy to listen to what's going on in somebody else's life. And we don't get into being a recovery coach because we have nothing else to do. We get into being a recovery coach and want to do this because we care.
That's right.
Because we want to help. We want to give back to the community. And for me, it's because of what so freely has been given to me.
That's right.
Right? So now you have 4 hours a week of being a coach that you graciously want to do, but now you're taking on someone's really heavy stuff. What do you do with that? Right? Do you sit with it? No. You need that supervision piece to release it, to get it out, to talk to a supervisor about it, to be able to share it and know where to place it and where to put it and get some good feedback. And that's the things I think that we're learning. I can speak for myself, I can't speak for you guys, but I think that we're learning in the course on how to properly do that supervision piece. And then what do we do with it?
Right.
I'm learning because I do this for work that I know how to displace it. I know where to get rid of it in work. I know how to dump it. I'm learning, better self-care for myself and shutting down. So supervision is huge. And now that we're going to have a lot of coaches, it's been suggested to me, A, B, and C. And this is the meat and potatoes of the program. And I know I can speak for you. I think that we want to save the world, right? And every call that
One at a
comes
time.
in, we want to jump and take it, and we have to balance each other and say, no, we have coaches and we need to delegate and let these coaches do that, and we have a role to play. And that role is really being supervisors now and giving direct feedback and coaching suggestions and trying to help facilitate groups and trainings, which I know I've been emailing all of our 20 coaches that we have. I've been emailing, right, Kyle? I'm sending, numerous emails every week with trainings and webinars and some Narcan trainings and all sorts of things that Malden Overcoming Addiction has going on and SAMHSA websites, and just so our coaches are equipped with knowledge, where they can get trainings, what that looks like, because that's part of being a supervisor, and I'm hoping to be a good supervisor, is to give our coaches the best knowledge that they can have to brighten their horizons and give them the knowledge and education that they need. So,
So as supervisors, we're supposed to sit with, so we might have a coach and a recovery. So Kyle could be sitting with someone he's coaching, and we would sit in on one of those trainings. And we would be making sure, like, is the coach promoting recovery? Is the coach trying to remove barriers? Is the coach trying to connect the person with recovery support services to encourage hope? Is the coach practicing optimism, healthy living? That's all the things we want to watch for. And obviously with the recovery coach, you can take this to a very higher level. You can go sort of as far as you want. And myself and Donna, we're about to become certified recovery coaches. There's a whole bunch of classes that folks can take.
Yep.
And there's hours, there's 500 hours you have to get in the field as a recovery coach. And part of the supervision process is we'll be able to sign off on, say, Kyle's hours. He might turn in a form to us. He worked X amount of hours this week. He saw this one, whether that's a phone call, whether that is him just writing things down, dealing with someone, travel, whatever, all the hours he's putting in, the supervisor will be able to sign off on that. And Richie, this is what the three of us are going to the school together, and I don't know about you, but I've learned a lot so far in the 2 days that we've went, and we have one more class. What do you think of the class? I think the class is fantastic.
I love the class. I love the information. The best part about it, the classes are great, facilitators are great, but networking with everybody is good. Meeting so many other people who are passionate about working in this field. And the one interesting thing that I always, like that very first class that I was talking about, a lot of those principles overlap into this one. And if you look a lot at, all right, this is the recovery coach class and the supervision class where we treat the supervisors, the recovery coaches, with that same love and care of the recovery, and they all overlap, which was an interesting thing that I took out of it.
Yeah, I've thought it has been fantastic. And I didn't understand the supervision piece and how important it was until, someone told us that, we need to do this as an organization. And honestly, I believe that this is the way of the future. With Donna, you mentioned pandemic. So if people don't know what that is, an epidemic generally is one place where something's happening in one area, and there's just a mass amount of something going on, hurting people in one area. Pandemic is very spread out, and I believe we're right in the middle of a pandemic with what we're all facing out there in the opioid crisis, and with the fentanyl and the carfentanil, and the way people are dying. It almost seems like the numbers are against us, and we're struggling really bad, trying to get people in the right direction and coaching. Kyle, Richie, Donna, I believe we're on the right path.
Is pandemic is way too nice of a word for me to even utter that out of my mouth. After all the stuff that I've seen, my neighborhood, my family, other families. I mean, we should really call what this is and call it genocide or the Holocaust or something. Because if you look at those numbers over the years, and really, like awesome, like we're becoming aware now, but we're about 30 years. This has been going on for a long time, and if we really wanted to crunch those numbers, I couldn't say pandemic. That's just way too nice of a word. And what we're really calling for is jump on the firing line of life with us and soldier up with us if you're tired of it, if you're complaining about it. The one thing that I'm really shocked at is like why there wasn't a line down the street to take this class with all the people that complain about it and armchair quarterback it. Oh, this is what's going on, and it's the drug dealers and it's the doctors and this. Well, MOA offered you an opportunity to jump on and shake the trees and jump into the fire, but there was not a line going down to Malden Square at all.
No, there wasn't a line, and you're right, Richie. I agree with you, but there are some, and we know that if we stand up, and I think in the past 2 years, the difference we've made together as a unit and the work we're doing, I believe if we stick on this path, I believe they're going to come. But Richie, you're right. It's there's a lot of talk out there. There's a lot of people that want to talk about it, and nobody, they don't want to get involved. They point the finger, and but guys like us on the front lines, we have to continue this work. I mean, Kyle, you're from Boston, right? I'm from this end. So how is it on that end? It's all the same. Everything's the same everywhere, right?
It's absolutely disgusting. The amount of people I've known from just going on my social media threads that I see on a day-to-day basis that have died from overdoses or numerous things involving drugs, and it's just like, it's crazy. And like me being part of like myself, my own personal recovery, like today I'm just trying to live in the solution and be part of the solution and not part of the problem. There's so like listening to everybody talk, there's people that talk about like how it's so bad out there, but they don't want to step foot and become part of the solution, and they continue to live in like relapse instead of living in recovery, and it's sad. In Boston as a whole, it's the amount of people I see using like on a day-to-day basis whether I'm on the subway or I'm walking downtown Boston or I'm different places. It's sad, truly.
Well, I know, so for folks that don't understand what we're up against, so in the past 2 days, Saturday afternoon, it was 3 o'clock, and it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was a bright sunny day, and I was in a park, and there was a young lady screaming for help, and I didn't know why. And she was screaming until I could understand what she was saying. Her boyfriend was in the outhouse at the park, and he OD'd. So we called, and fire, police, ambulance came and got the gentleman awake. But as a recovery coach, what I'm hoping and what we're hoping, I believe what we're all hoping is we can get in with the police, the EMTs, the fire department, so when these folks get out to the actual scenario, they're in the scenario, they can only take that person so far. They do it every day, day in and day out. At least now they can hand them a card with a lifeline. If you want help, call a recovery coach. Amen. And like that's what I'm getting at. Like this is there is not enough of us by far, but we're up and coming. I believe like this wasn't here 5 years ago. I mean, it was just starting, but like 10 years ago, there was nothing like this. Now, all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of us out trying to do this. And that gentleman, I gave him a card. He has not called. He was taken away in the ambulance. Yesterday, about 24 hours ago, I had to put a woman in the ambulance again, phone call, found her on the street. It was 6:30 at night. And so 2 out of 3 days, I personally have got someone to, I don't even know what to say. It's just every day now. It's in my town, it's in your town, it's this city, that city.
Everywhere.
So I believe we're making a difference, and I'd like everyone to maybe go visit the website, visit the Facebook page, and you could learn all about recovery coaching. And in the last couple of minutes, I want to talk about with everybody. So this takes funding. this takes money.
Yep.
And this is something we need. This is something we all talk about. So we're having a fundraiser, and we're having the fundraiser. It's called, it's hashtag Together We Can Comedy Night. And it's going to be June 28th at the Irish American, right here in Malden. You can visit our website. You can visit our Facebook page to find out how to buy tickets. You can contact Malden Overcoming Addiction. They're $25 a ticket. There'll be 4 comedians. There'll be silent auctions. There's going to be music, food, fun. There's going to be just a whole bunch of stuff we're trying to do to raise money to help fight the disease of addiction, and that's what we're doing here in the city. So if you're listening to us, or if you simply just want to make a donation, you can go right to the website, Malden Overcoming Addiction, and you can donate right there silently. You don't have to say anything, but we need your help. You know, we're battling out here, and we're battling every day, and it does take funding. So again, with all those ways to contact us, there's Twitter, there's Facebook. It's at Malden Overcomes on Twitter. It's at Malden Overcomes on Instagram. We're on YouTube. This show will be on YouTube. There's the Facebook page, which has everything. If you want to learn anything about Malden Overcoming Addiction, go right to our Facebook page. We're on there daily. And I just want to thank everybody for coming on. So Donna, Richie,
Well,
Kyle, thank you, everybody. And tune in next month. We'll be back next month with another show. And thanks, everybody, for watching. And have a great night. Thank you.